All right. I think my microphone is working. Hello and welcome to season 3, episode 10 of Fabrically Speaking Live. I'm your host, Clare Rowley, inventor of the Creative Feet line of sewing machine products. And today I'm going to make a dog dress using a pattern by, here we go. And I'm not sure if this is the actual name of her whole company. It looks like it's Sophie and Friends. And this is the Sadie Grace dress, number 1615, which is already in the description on the video below. When we end the live, you'll be able to see it in the description. And I decided to make it match the dog bag that I made last season. If you're interested in making yourself this cute little bag, and it even has a little poopy bag to hold your bags, and it holds 2 full-size water bottles. Got a key ring to hold your keys on so you can take them out without having to worry about dropping them. Place for your cell phone and for snacks. And it's got a comfort strap so it doesn't weigh down on your shoulder. And this was a 3-part series last season because we actually did the embroidery as well by embroidering over Lorelei's Designs fabric panel, and it was a lot of fun. I know that some of you did it. If you did make this, go ahead and give a thumbs up. And also last season I made Tinkerbell, this little minky sweatshirt. You can tell I have a color theme going on, can't you? So a lot of times I tell you to spray starch. This would be a time when I would say don't spray starch the fabric first. Do pre-wash, as there are chemicals inside of fabric that is not good for you or your dog. That camera kind of paused, didn't it? Hello, Pacola Chase, Jennifer from Georgia, Wendy. This was your thing, right? If you're the Wendy, because there's more than one Wendy, that asked for help with this, and if I'm remembering correctly, it is a Wendy, that was having trouble getting the gathers on her pattern to fit nicely. So I said, well, I'll just buy the pattern and I'll make it live and we'll discuss all of the different ways you can get the gathers to smooth, to integrate well into that area. And also, I thought I'd show you 3 different ways of finishing the edge of your ruffle so that you can choose whichever method you like. One method is rolled hemming, and I know a lot of you have had difficulty using the rolled hem foot, which is not a foot by Creative Feet, but I have a trick to using it. And know that I've not made this yet, so I'm going to be kind of making it along with you. Hello, Deb from Colorado. It is you. I feel like your picture looks different this week, Wendy. Okay, so one of the things you're going to do is, if you buy this pattern, the link is in the description of the video, so it can take you right to it. They have you measure your dog, and I did measure my little Tinkerbell before we went live, and I even cut the pattern pieces out. I'm trying to be a little quicker on the video by having things done ahead of time. I don't always have the luxury of that, but today I did. So in my pattern, I measured using your good old-fashioned measuring tape. Each one of the positions that she has you measure out. And then when you print, also, this is a PDF pattern that you can print out on her website. She's got a lot of stuff, you guys. If you're a pet owner, you're going to like that. So when you print it, you see this 1 inch, and that is to help you to see if your printer printed it out in a 1 inch size. And you can see it's perfect 1 inch for my printer. That's a good thing, a good rule of thumb on all PDF patterns whenever it has to fit something specifically. Tinkerbell did rate as a medium dog, and you all know there's no way she's a medium dog. So I'm just going to keep her as the small dog, but this is how you determine which one of the patterns is by doing those measurements. And she's got the neck and the girth, and you can alter the patterns. There's different ways. One of the things she talks about is using Velcro, and that's something I haven't shown on the show, and I happen to have a pretty teal-ish color. This is called hook and it's called Velcro, but it's also called hook and something. Man, I can't remember the official name. Now, if you've ever tried to sew on Velcro before and had an adhesive back on it, it's really not intended for you ever to sew it with your sewing machine. Hook and loop tape, that's it. My brain was just like, you can do it. And know that we do have different level sewers that join us, so if this seems silly that I have to explain Velcro, it's noisy. Well, it's definitely working. So here we have the hook part and the loop part, and then they stick to one another, and depending on how long you make this, sorry for how loud that is. Well, that makes it so you can adjust your dog's outfit to the body without having to worry so much about whether or not it's a little bit big for your dog. There's certain things on a pattern that you need to know, and that when you see the line with a double arrow, that's the grain of the fabric. How you are supposed to position it on the grain. So when you look at your fabric and you buy it out of the store, it comes folded. And it has a selvage on one side, and this selvage side is not stretchy. So this is why sometimes people make garments and they don't like how they fit because they didn't understand the grain of the fabric. And sometimes you cut fabric like this fabric here, this one that I absolutely love, this last spring. It doesn't have any writing on the selvage, so it's really easy to lose that. So you need to, if you understand how to determine the grain on fabric without having to depend on the selvage, it helps you. Especially if you get somebody's scrap bag. So when you stretch this way, it doesn't stretch at all. That's with the grain. And you go this way, that's against the grain, and it will have some stretch to it. And fabric will hug its belly. So that's the wrong side of the fabric. This is the right side of the fabric. When you stretch and it kind of arches up, well, you know that's the right side of the fabric. Now, once you determine which is the non-stretchy part, then you know that the bias runs diagonally across from one corner or one side to the other. This is the most stretchy of the fabric, and we can use that sometimes in place of elastic on some things. I can't do anything about the internet. I think it has to do with what's going on in the world right now. But I'm seeing that it's still working. Just know that I figured out what was wrong with my camera. I had the camera cord going up along this rigging that I have in the room. And when I would take the iron and bring the iron over, it would wiggle the wire, and then it would wiggle the connection in the computer and make it lose connection. So that's what was going on. I'm hoping, crossing fingers, because if it's not that, I may need a new camera. But my son's all, well, did you check your cords? You know, you could buy new cords. That's what I would do. If the camera's still working, it's your cords. Such a smart aleck, but you know, he's usually right. It's nice to see you guys chatting with one another. I managed to iron this poorly. So got to turn the noisy iron back on. You can see I am wearing my sunflower shirt that I inked with our fabric inks that you can find at creativefeet.com. Those of you who are in the VIP group and you're wondering when I'm going to get that video uploaded, I will have it uploaded. I'll probably do that on Saturday. It's just I had to get caught up on orders because we had so many orders in house. I wasn't sleeping well. So you guys are all experiencing a little drag. I restarted my router, restarted the computer, updated software. My entire focus all day was on filming today so that I would not frustrate any of you. So that must have to do with our internet connection in the area. All right. And I'm not sure if the designer of this pattern will be dropping by today because I let her know that I'd be filming her pattern today and she was like, where? And I hope to do her justice, and I'm not getting anything for giving the link to the pattern. Just love to show a little love to fellow designers. Did I say hello, Angela? And Linda. And Better Days. Which is Amy. I'm dragging. I was going to take a nap. I think I'm having allergies. Allergies have kicked in. Okay, so it tells you on the pattern what it is, which piece this is. So this is the skirt ruffle. And it shows the fold. So if we place it on the fabric where the fold is, so where the fabric folds, based on patterns, I mean, based on the fact that the fold is generally this way, you would think this would be the right way to fold it, except for, is it? Yes, it is, because that is with the grain. So if this arrow, and actually I don't know about her pattern, so hopefully I will do this all correctly. All right, so we're just basically, that's not a very big ruffle. And I think she has you do the shoulder separate. See, there's the shoulder, which is a clever way of doing this. Because you could do this with a straight ruffle as well and bring it around. We're going to follow the pattern, and then if I have any tricks to make it easier, I'll show you. Okay, so we'll first cut out the ruffle. It's like 90 degrees in here today. Whew. It's really not, but it feels like it. And don't say it. Don't say I'm going through the hot flashes again. I refuse to believe that. Good morning. Oh, we all know that in Australia it's in the morning. And which one are you? I have a lot of Australia customers. You got to say your name. I can't remember. Is that Lynn? So you want to make sure that your fabric isn't folded funky so that you miss. I try not to waste my fabric, so I try to get this up against the end, so I'll flip it this way so I can not miss any. I thought I've zoomed the camera out enough, but maybe not. My arms are short. Happy Thursday, everybody. Or is it Friday there? Is it Friday in Australia? Hopefully I can do this pinning without poking myself. Another way of doing a ruffle is to use a similar concept to the binding, and we can actually make this ruffle with this faux piping on the edge, and when you gather it up you have that cute little accent without having to add piping, without adding too much weight on the fabric since it's for a little dog. So we're keeping the lines going the same direction. I sure do not like wasting fabric. Friday there. When I pin in a piece like this, I'll pin diagonally. And that keeps it from rocking as you cut with it. It's Friday. I hear that scream in my head. No, it's not. Tomorrow's Friday. It's going to mess me up. A couple of things you're going to need for this pattern. One is the Velcro. You can also use yarn and stitch yarn onto the edge. I need to put this Velcro somewhere safe. Imagine a pretty yarn stitched on the edge, and you could do that. You could also do the satin stitch on the edge like we do with the Satinedge Foot. Yeah, your order shipped. Everybody's order shipped. Well, not everybody. There's one hair that's like crossing my face, or there we go. All pressers shipped out. I have a little applause that goes in my head when all pressers are shipped. And the only thing we're waiting on right now is the Appliquick stabilizer. Everything else came in. Very exciting to clear up all the orders sitting in my inbox. Now we need to get you to buy more stuff. So one of the other things I believe I saw is a snap. And maybe it's an option in place of Velcro. I don't know because I haven't made it yet. But if you haven't got one of these little guys that helps you secure snaps to things, this would be something that you would need for that. I haven't used a snap in so many years, I don't even remember how to do it. Other things that I believe I saw is not necessarily this, but a ring for the leash to go on the back of the dress. My dog doesn't have that kind of leash. So, and it probably is a flat, and then a D ring would be what it would be called. But I don't know. These are some other options that you could do. This is a secure thing, so you could release. You can design your own leash and not have the hook be on the leash, but have the hook be on the dress. I don't know. My dog. Not with my dog. Another thing that would benefit you is to use the liquid-based glue. I'm sure we're going to use that today. I'm sleepy. I almost took a nap. Almost. I'm looking for my rotary cutter. Did I put it back in the bag? Did I do what I should have done? Put it in my rotary cutter purse that I made? Doesn't sound like me, does it, Amy? And I'm sorry that you missed the Saturday VIP show. Wendy, I think it was you. All right, so I'm going to cut. This is the kind of stuff that I always feel like I should have done before, but you guys say you like to watch me do the whole process. Now, see the pin, this is why we want to get those flat pins. Do you guys have those flat pins? If you don't have rotary cutters, you can use scissors as well. And when you use scissors, you're going to want to use shears. So you have a scissor, and then you have a shear. And shears are generally designed like this with a bigger place for your fingers to go, and these are designed for leather and upholstery. And these we're about to carry at creativefeet.com. They didn't come in, but we ordered them because it is my favorite for cutting through heavier fabrics like minky, but not quite leather. And yes, one can never have too many pairs of scissors. Well, it's going to be interesting to see how long Tinkerbell will keep this on. So if you wanted to do the faux piping look on your little dog's dress, you would double the width of this. Because I believe she has you just do a rolled hem on the edge of this, and the width of the ruffle is what you see right here. And I was seeing if she has it stated that you use a lining as well. You could also do a lining. But just to make it double the width and then fold it over. And as we did with the quilting, what size ruffle is this? So it's a, I'll think it through and help you guys figure out how to achieve that. Remember, the one you see the least is the one that's cut the biggest. So it probably, well, I think I can figure it out. So that top piece would be 1.5 inches for what you see here. If we were, excuse me, if we were to put it all the way over to here, I can't do it right now. I'll do it off camera. I'm glad you guys like the whole process. I know not everyone does. So now on this fabric, I could put yarn. Can't do it all, you guys, but I can kind of show you a little bit of sewing yarn on. Thinking about what this is going to be used for, it's going to be used for a dog. So we could use thread as well and do a satin stitch on the edge. And I also could coordinate and complement the fabric with a thread that complements the whole garment and use a blanket stitch, but I don't think that will hold up well. Remember, it's going to be attached to this fabric. I'm going to look so stylish with my dog matching my bag. What do you guys want me to do? Yarn on the edge? Yarn is just not going to hold up, so. Because we'll wash it, and then the stitch, if we cover the yarn completely, well, what's the point of putting the yarn on there? If we use a stitch where it exposes some of the fabric edge, then you have raw edge. But if we fold the fabric in half, if you made your ruffle double size, you can do whatever you want on the edge of your ruffle. And if you're going to make and sell things like this, that's how you get more money for things that you sell on like Etsy, by making yours stand out from the rest. I'm just going to go ahead and use scissors. Shears. I haven't been getting enough sleep lately. A little distracted. So I apologize if I'm not as good as I can be. I'm not going to say as I usually am, because frequently different things happen. So on this, it's a cut 4, and I did not layer it for cut 4. So I guess she's going to have us sew these together to create a double-sided ruffle. Would have been easier to have it pinned. And if I just read, and that is what causes a lot of people to have trouble in the first place is not reading what the pattern has written on it. Get a little bit ahead of ourselves, and not reading everything can cause you to not cut enough pieces out. See, uh-oh. Maybe that camera is going. Oh no. No, we're gonna have to get a new camera, I think. It's a little glitchy. I will try to restart it. See if it works. Yay. Okay. My hand in there. Right. Okay. Camera's working. Hello, Mary from Buena Park, California, home of Knott's Berry Farm and the place that invented boysenberry. Yum, yum. So on the actual pattern, you see how it says cut 4. For those of you who are new to sewing, that's what you want to look for on each pattern piece. And on this one, the one that I cut for the ruffle, it was place on the fold. And when you place it on the fold, you know that you're cutting twice as long of a piece. Oh man. All right, I'm going to give this camera a break. Trying to think if I have another camera that I could use real quick. That would be the best way to test it, wouldn't it? I'm going to give you a little bit of music. Couldn't really tell. Now I know for sure that it's something wrong with the camera. Okay, so hello everybody. Thank you for being patient. Everything was fine earlier. How did I do this before? What a year. I was ready for 2022 to be better than the other 2 years. It's on. New camera? Okay, it's not new, it's old. And I had to put it away because it had been acting up. So crossing fingers, that'll do it for today. Okay. Time to cut out that and go ahead and ask me some questions. Tell me your dog's names, you guys. I want to know. I want to know your dog's names. How many dogs you got? Those of you watching on the replay, today is March, is it 3rd? So hard to see. It is March 3rd of 2022. So if you're watching and it is not that date, then odds are you're watching the replay and you can fast forward through stuff when I have a glitch. You get lucky. Can you believe I'm cutting out a pattern piece with scissors on a show? This is how we all used to do it. I remember kneeling down when I was young on the floor, trying not to cut the carpet, and we had shag carpet. So now I got 4 of those. One of these, and we're definitely going to have to hem those. So I figure I'll do satin. How about I'll do satin stitch on the shoulders, and I'll use the rolled hem for the other. I don't know. 2 dogs, Pablo and Sydney. Cute names. You know how old my camera is? That camera is the year high def came out. I think there's one more thing we need for this. Let me look at the pattern. She has a bow on the back, which you could make out of fabric. Yeah, it has like a little collar. But I don't know. There it is. Cut 4. Oops. Oh my gosh. Oopsie. Yeah, I said oopsie, Amy. Yeah, I'm going to show the rolled hem for the longer piece because I want to show you how to keep it under control for long periods of time too. I thought I was saying whoopsie, but I think I am saying whoops, oopsie, or both. These are not very mature things that I am saying lately. Sometimes I would be lazy and just hold the pattern and cut around without pinning. That doesn't go well generally. I love these colors. It just smells of spring in here, doesn't it? I'm going out to dinner tonight. So like the longest I can go is 4:30. I'm going to try to get this done today. And if I don't get it done today, well, we will carry it over to another day. And if this camera holds up throughout the show, I won't worry. But if not, I'm going to get a new camera this week. So we'll start. No, I'm not going to do that. So what you should do is keep all your pattern pieces together with the actual pattern piece and the fabric so that you know when you're done cutting your pieces. So that's all of the accents. And now I just have 2 pieces cut on the fold out of my really cool fabric. And that is with the grain. The fold is with the grain. And she's got here skirt and lining. So both words, which tells me that she's going to encase the gather in between. I have tricks instead of doing that, but we'll follow her pattern. It doesn't say cut 2. So we're just going to do what is on the pattern so I teach correctly. Now, to not waste a bunch of fabric, when you have a small piece like this, you can take and pull your fabric out and create a fold closer to the edge so you're not cutting so far out from the edge. Does that make sense? If that makes sense, give me a thumbs up. Am I not seeing anyone from Facebook today? I don't even want to check to see if it's working. I didn't pull the chat in. Ah, that's what's going on. Hold on one sec. Restream chat. Come on. There we go. Where is it? So if I'm ignoring you, it's not intentional. Uh-oh. Make sure your pattern piece isn't laying beneath your fabric. See what I did? It's because I'm splitting my brain, trying to do more than one thing. Open. Where is that chat? There's a chat that lets me see all the different sites that you guys are on, and there it is. Forgot to do that. It says hooray. I don't even know if that's going to work. Okay, here we go. All right, I guess it's working. So if you're on Facebook, sorry if I seem to be ignoring you. And what we're doing today is a dog dress using a pattern that I got off Etsy. The link is in the description of the video. Tina and Amy, you guys are like a set. It feels weird if one of you's here and the other one isn't. It's like something's wrong. So when we were having the VIP, Tina was like, it feels so weird without Amy being in here. Know that you were missed on Saturday. And we're going back to the third Saturday of every month is VIP, whatever you want me to sew Saturday. That is a paid group that you can join, should you want to, on our inside of Create with Clare Rowley, which is my online school. I am disorganized. Oh yeah, I was saving fabric. That's why I did that. Now none of it makes sense. This is also on the fold. And the line is going that way. So here we go. I haven't sewn clothes in a while. Last thing I did was the skirt, the broomstick skirt for the American Doll. Otherwise, I generally just cut my own patterns. I remember when I was 16, my girlfriend and I were sitting on the floor and we were just cutting fabric out, and my mom came in and she's like, that's not how you cut out a pattern or cut out a dress. You need a pattern. So this is with the grain. All right, that was hard. Here we go. Here we go. I do say that a lot too lately. Still don't see anyone from Facebook popping up, so I don't know if we're live there, if it worked or not. What am I doing? This. I really got to get some flat pins, and they have them made out of a material that you can iron. Definitely something I should add to the site. We got our needle threaders in, now we just have to add them to the site. Got several new products that I just need to add to the site. Yes, you were missed very much. Tinkerbell's moaning. So here's the thing, it says cut on outside edge of dotted line on this pattern. So these are the little things that you could not pay attention to and then have an issue later that we're not aware of. You should see this lady sew. She cuts fabric like it doesn't matter at all. And just instead of getting herself organized before she goes live, she does it live in front of everybody in this mishmashy way. This is how I believe some people discuss me when they see me for the first time. So the clips on the pattern pieces, they're too big for having a ruler there. Another thing you can use for pattern pieces to use your rotary cutter is flat washers. You can buy washers at the store and get them so they're thick washers, and then they add a lot of weight to it. So you're kind of like this, holds it down and that keeps it down. I thought about using a clip on this one, especially this would be the time to do it is when it's on the fold. So we have it on the fold. but I'm just out of it today. I'm going to admit it. There we go. So when you see this, we're going to go in. This helps you line up things later. They used to have you cut or go out, and then sergers came out, and then people were cutting off their little marks. So then they started having you go in. It does weaken that spot. I shouldn't have cut it so much. And honestly, it's like you could mark it with a pen as well. Come on. Oopsie. I totally messed up. I cut right there. That's what not to do. Do not cut where your seam allowance is. The dotted line is your seam allowance. It's okay. I know some of you love it when I mess up. I did that just for you. This is a 3/8 inch seam. Well, that is. So we'll just stop right there. Okay, got all the pieces. Isn't that just adorable? All right, time to go to the pattern. I print 2 out, 1 complete and don't cut it, and then have the other one that I cut up in pieces. So they do have you do 2-sided. So we do need to cut 2 of each one of these. This reminds me of making masks. She has you do a fold over that I have you do when I make my mask. Oh, I'm so sleepy. All right, I'll cut another one. Good thing I have enough fabric. Quit your whining, Claire, right? No, I can tell you that the reason pattern designers have hints is because we've made mistakes. So that's, this little area here is a problem. What do I do? Cut it out again? That would be the smart thing to do. Tinkerbell probably won't wear this, but you can also patch it using the Fuse and Fuse and put a little patch back there. So I'll show you that. You can do it using the same fabric too. So Fuse and Fuse is so light, it's not going to add a lot of body there. And it's not bad to have extra structure when you have a sleeve or the armhole. It's so funny thinking about my dog having an armhole. Okay. Okay, so this was supposed to be a 3/8 inch seam allowance or edge there. I don't know how I did that. This is the part of sewing that to me is boring. But when you're new to sewing, it is nice to see So on this side, I'm going to make sure I cut it so that it has a 3/8 inch seam allowance there. It's not something you see every day anymore. Used to be everything was 5/8 inch seam allowances. We used to sew wrong sides together, grade down one side 1/4 inch, Flip it over to encase the seam. So now you know, cut two, but one of one fabric and one of the other, unless you don't. You should just make one solid pink outfit. I don't recommend doing this until you get really good at rotary cutters. And they also have smaller rotary cutters with smaller blades that make it easier to cut around and do little angles like that, which I'd like to add to our site as well. I poked myself, darn it. I think I'm going to go back to scissors for the rest. I don't know if it'll be reversible. Not the way the ruffle is. You could. You could definitely. I don't know. I'll know when it's done. Still no YouTube or Facebook or oh, we got a troll. Block on it. Oh, I can block it on Restream too. Oh well, if we didn't go live on Facebook, sorry to everyone. It was interesting because they were like, we've never had anyone have a conflict on Facebook and YouTube at the same time. So that's what happened last week. So far so good. Unless we never went live on Facebook. I don't know. If any of you are on Facebook right now watching, can you do something in the chat? A thumbs up or a heart or show me a little love. Drat. I need to go pick up my daughter. I'm just picturing your daughter hearing you say that. Gosh, Mom. All right. So we have these two pieces. They're going to be sewn together. Right sides together. I'm going to fuse to patch that. Now we have our... It's so cute. I want a grandchild to sew for. Can you guys arrange that for me? Neither one of my children has any intention of gifting me that. So using the Fuse and Fuse to patch this, it's permanent, doesn't wash out. It holds really well. It should hold up nice. And nobody will be the wiser that I actually cut that wrong. So now my iron is on its own thing. Let's see if that closed camera is still functioning. It is. All right, but we're not going to keep it on board or take it. I'm going to keep it off until we need it. You're raising your granddaughter. I don't think I'll have that to worry about with my kids. God forbid. All right. So I'm using my paper scissors. So we have it from here to here, I have a split. If this were a garment for a human and I knew that, or even if Tinkerbell would be using this a lot, it's going to probably just be a sample, I would probably cut a new piece. But it's, I think, nice for you to see that how to patch, how to fix something like this. So that is going to fuse the two, or fuse that together. And then I'm going to peel the paper off and add another piece of the same fabric. Of course, it doesn't work if you don't turn the iron on. No steam. I'm going to mute while I take a sip. I had totally forgotten that I put the iron down. I was checking something. Multitasking. Our brains don't do a very good job of that. I'd be happy to do some baby stuff, even though I don't have a baby in my life. I can always donate something like that, can't I? This is why I say you guys should ask me what you want me to show you. And was it the burp cloths? It's not like I didn't have a child. I know what these things are. So receiving blankets. I was thinking about, I would love to teach how to make those little stuffed animal head binkies for the babies. And I am planning on designing a bib, but not just for children, also an adult bib for those who have physical challenges or, yeah. You're going to be a grandma. How much longer do you have to wait? So now I'm taking the same fabric and I'm going to fuse it to the, the paper is cool and I can peel that off. And there'll be no proof. I'll be like, prove that I did that. And as I peel, I am going to peel it back. It'd be good to use the same color scheme in that area. So have the light green be there. No one's going to see it anyway because it's going to be in the garment. August 31st. How exciting. And now that's got strength, so you don't have to worry that it's going to come apart. I wonder if the pattern designer is going to watch and she's going to go, oh, look at what people do when they make my pattern. They mess up. Trying to figure out how I missed that bodice. My brain was off, that's all. I've been waking up every night and praying for the people in Ukraine. Kind of like a little facing. Okay, mended. Learned a little mending while sewing. So now these two pieces are going to go together, but not yet. There's going to be marks because you're going to be turning it right side out. So where these two pieces, when you lay them on top of one another, she has mark areas. I did a terrible cut job on that. Okay, so if we look at our pattern, the little dot, I guess, is to help you to, because this is the fold, so the dot. So she's recommending that you don't sew from this far, so that's like an inch from that side. And I'm going to put a little dot. But I also normally, when I mark my don't sew areas, I use clips. And I just go like that and go, okay, that clip means that I don't sew between the two clips. The Clip-It clips are back in stock, by the way. They had sold out. All right, so now that's together and ready, and I'm jumping ahead of the pattern. All right, let's follow the pattern. Instructions. I think I got all the pieces cut out now that I've read the directions, or read the pattern. I used a really heavy paper when I printed this, much heavier than I needed to. But it's kind of nice because it's like a book, and I stapled it on the bottom and the top. So now I can open it, and I printed single-sided, which is a good idea because when you go to do the pattern pieces, you can end up with this pattern piece being on this side of the paper. So print single-sided. This is the instructions on how to alter for your dog. Sewing instructions is the first thing we're going to do is apply interfacing to collars. Well, I'm just going to skip that. You know why I'm going to skip it? Because I don't have any. No, I do somewhere. It's just going to slow me down, though. That gives it more body. Right sides together, sew collars leaving neck edges open. There must have been because I was looking for a interfacing thing. So what I did was I cut 4. I think it's enough to just have those two layers. Follow the directions though. If you do this, go ahead and, if you're doing it and it's going to matter more to you, then this one matters to me. Interfacing will give it a crisp look. I could use the Appliquick stabilizer, except for it won't be permanent. So these are the neck edges. The instructions are to sew around like that. And you can see how it crisscrosses. I'm not sure if she wants you to crisscross over or not. Now the pattern calls for a 1/4 inch seam allowance. I thought I did the focus. That's blurry. In case you can't tell, it's blurry. I'm gonna get that camera to focus. I think I moved my machine. Come on. There we go. Oh, God. Tink's body's hanging off the side of the chair. Hope she doesn't fall off. Okay, so the Satinedge Foot helps us sew a perfect 1/4 inch seam allowance. I would use an 80-12 needle for this. Right now I have a stretch needle on the machine. And it's a more expensive needle, so I would recommend the 80-12 universal instead to save money. Remember, on my needles, I always start from the left, so I know that needle is worn out the most. The tips are the same for the 7511 and the universal and the stretch. The difference is the structure of the needle. This is a more fragile needle, the stretch needle. Where's my tweezers? So the stretch needle has a thinner section right here, and the whole needle is kind of flattened out, and the scarf is much deeper, and that makes it less likely to skip a stitch. This needle comes closer to the hook of your machine. You're more likely to break this needle. So we don't want to use this when we're going to be crossing and going over multiple layers of fabric. We need a little bit extra strength. 80-12 universal would be the most common needle for garment sewing, for sewing the two fabrics together. You could use it. You can use any one of these needles. You can use a 80-12 universal, top stitch, stretch. They're all going to give you. They're all going to have the same tip, which is going to stop the fabric from tearing. Instead of being a sharp or a needle which cuts through fibers, it's going to push fibers aside, protecting the garment from damage. Hello, Shirley and Stephanie. So this is the chrome. This is going to be, you're going to start noticing, apparently, because had a meeting with Schmetz, because I'm like, what's this chrome on the package thing all about? Is this a new needle? And she's like, no, we went to chrome away from nickel. So at some point in time, they'll all say chrome on the package, I guess. So don't feel like something's wrong when you get it. That was so much bigger than the stretch. I had to loosen the screw more. My needle threader didn't work last week. It's working good. So it was just a fluke last week, I guess. Okay, so one of the things that you have to do is sew seam allowances. You have to sew a distance away from the edge, and if you're not accurate, well, then it doesn't look the right way. So what we're aiming for is an exact 1/4 inch distance all the way down the length. This is typical also in quilting. The Satinedge Foot is the foot that I'm using right now, and this is the foot I designed for a blind sewer, so it helps you sew more accurately. And it has this little nut, and you turn the nut and it changes the position of the wire inside the area where the needle goes up and down. So what you're going to do is lower the needle onto your measuring tape, onto one of the lines, one of the longer lines, and then bring the needle down on the 1/4 inch line, and that gives you a 1/4 inch distance. So we're going to move needle's going to go down here, and then we're going to move the guide over to the 1/4 inch mark, and that is how you achieve a perfect 1/4 inch seam allowance. It comes packaged like you see here with 4 adapters and a snap-on foot and then an instruction booklet. It's a reclosable container, so you can open it up. And there you can see the foot, and it has a 7mm wide snap-on bar. If your sewing machine has a 9mm wide snap-on bar, you'll select one of our adapters and then snap it onto our foot, screw this back onto your machine, and now your machine has the 7mm wide snap-on capability as well. They don't break, so you can just twist it off, snap it on. You can hear how loud that is. So it's very secure, and then you just twist it to take it off. Our feet are warranted for life. Even if your dog chews it up, you drive over it with your car, we'll still give you a new foot. I used to say no questions asked, but I do like to know how you damaged it because it's really hard to break them. We did have 2 dogs chew up the feet and 2 women drive over them with their car. So if you don't want this to shift at all, I would recommend using our liquid based. And at very least, using 1 dot on one corner and a dot on the other corner. So that's like a pin and another pin, and you never have to worry about sewing through it. And then you just kind of slide your finger over it so it's not a big blob. And now that is going to hold in place and not be able to shift on you. This is especially important when going around a curve. This is going across the bias of the fabric, and that is where it's most stretchy. So by using this, not that you can't sew it without, but if you want absolutely no chance of puckers, this is a water-soluble stabilizer in a bottle. So when you do little drops like this and then spread it out, and if you wait for it to dry, we have more than one of these to sew. So we could set that aside and do the next one, and by the time we're done gluing the next one, we're ready to sew that one. Uh-oh, I got my selvage in there. See, these are the mistakes that I make too. Ta-da! But that's mostly going to be in a seam allowance, so that's just because I don't like wasting fabric, and I push the limits sometimes. What are you taking pictures of? Are we going to get to see? Are you putting them in the school? So little dots, and then slide across. Here we go. Okay, so now this one would be dry if I waited a little bit longer. It's fine though. You can sew through it wet. It doesn't damage your machine. The chance though of it shifting is there if you don't wait for it to dry. So I didn't set that seam allowance yet. Left needle position is required in order to achieve a 1/4 inch seam allowance. You can use an 80-12 top stitch needle to do a satin stitch, yes. You're less likely to skip a stitch with that needle. So I'm going to lower the foot. Did my needle move? My needle must not be all the way up. So if your needle's not all the way up, get the needle out of the way. And the way to do it with a computer machine is to just use the needle up, needle down button. Now you can see the needle will move. So left needle position, lower the needle so it hovers over one of the lines on the measuring tape. Yes, you can set the glue with the iron. It does dry faster that way. It's just an evaporation process. You're getting the water in it to evaporate, and then all you're left with is a film, like any other water-soluble film. So what's happening by using that is we're stabilizing this fabric, eliminating the chance of this puckering or stretching as we go around. Any shop can carry our products. We used to have a lot more shops in Canada. I don't know. I generally start on the fabric and go back off. This is not where I should be starting. I should be starting here. There was a company called Dressmaker Supply in Canada that carried our products. Just know this, we do share, we split. If you spend over $49, we give you credit for what it would cost to ship in the United States back. We refund that money after the order because we know that it's more expensive and frustrating. So start on the fabric, go cut forward a couple stitches, then go back. And come forward. Yeah, and the shipping to Canada isn't as bad as Australia. I'm sure Lynn can share her frustration about that. And she can tell you we do give you refunds on that. And actually, it's really hard for us to ship to Australia still. Somebody in our country figured out how to get past the shipping embargo. I thought it was lifted, but it's still, we still can't just ship using our Shopify account. So normally this would stretch, but it's not going to stretch because of the liquid-based glue. And also when going around a curve, shortening your stitch length will prevent the fabric from stretching as much. It's less stitches or more stitches per inch. If you have stitches per inch on your machine, you would go from like 12 stitches per inch to 18 stitches per inch. And I went from a 2.5 millimeter stitch length to a 1.5 millimeter stitch length. And that is absolutely perfect, and there's no stretch at all on that fabric. We're one of the companies that was stolen from. When I first came out with the Creative Feet, China was the first one to steal from me or to copy me. They didn't do a good job, though. They actually copied my original design, which I changed not long after that. And then Japan did it after that. I was naive into thinking that people would be honest. I'm not trying to make you feel sorry for me. Creative Feet have been made in the United States since 1989. 33 years in business. Because despite them kind of making lookalikes, they did not duplicate our feet, which is why they have lots of different feet to try to do what this one does. So this is the same setup you would do for top stitching around the edge. We'll be using this for that as well when we do the ruffle. And then going around the collar is edge stitching. So top stitching, edge stitching, pen tucking, invisible applique, stitching in a ditch, charted needle design without the use of knitting needles, cut work without the use of hoop. As we go around, we're watching right here, not the needle, but there. And you can see that the fabric's starting to move away from the guide. We just keep bringing it back to the guide. This is how the blind are able to sew with it. They put one finger here, feeling the connection of the fabric, and they just kind of keep pushing the fabric toward the foot. You'll be able to get quick at this if you open the package and use it. What's 0? Eons ago. So what's eons? What does that equal? How many years? You sure do know how to make me feel old. I've had your feet forever. I've had your feet for eons. What is an eon? The original feet came out in 1989, and they were sewing machine specific. So they had adapters attached to the foot, and we give you a deal on upgrading to the new version. You'd have to do that with me. You can email me if you did not receive adapters. Now remember, the packaging has changed a lot over the years. Yours may be in a bag. It doesn't mean it's not the same version of the foot. And our material that we make our feet out of is designed to last. So it actually lasted longer than metal. When I started out, I made the feet out of metal, and they were failing. The metal was not lasting. Which foot should you use to put piping around a pillow? Pearls and piping. So now we have these two pieces sewn together, and we find center. I guess we turn it right side out. Turn it right side out and top stitch. See, this foot's now going to change from a 1/4 inch foot to a top stitch foot. And I'm going to use my pink presser and push out my corners. Thank God that camera's working. So it was the camera failing. Now we know. Now if you can't get the corner to be perfect, to be pointy, then before you do that, and this is pretty much a good rule of thumb, to cut on the diagonal. So we're going to cut across, and that will help it turn a point better. You don't want to go all the way down to the stitching line, because then that'll weaken that area. What time is it? I feel like I'm taking forever. 3:30? It's either 3:30 or 5:30. My eyes can't tell. It's a cute little collar. I'm not a pink girl, but Tinkerbell's a girl. This presser's too fat. That's why it's not sold. I get the rejects. See how much skinnier this is. So this is the right shape, the one you'd get. I let somebody try and make one, so they wanted to try. Now, rather than having to get the iron out, you could use the iron, but we can also just use the presser to press that collar. This would be a time to use spray starch and iron it. If you can't get the seam allowance to be equally centered when pressing, that is when I would get out the iron and try to fix that. Get that point. I feel like you could have done this with a 6 or an 1/8 inch seam allowance and you wouldn't have had as much trouble. But most people can't sew 1/8 inch seam allowances that well. The Satinedge Foot allows you to be really accurate with a narrower seam, and then you'd have a crisper fold there. Now here's when you would choose to have your thread show or not show. If you want to have it match pink or contrast in the color, and I was thinking about having a color that contrasts. Got kind of like an earache going today. I think I'm going to switch ears on my headphone. It's still lagging. Welcome back. Well, I'm sorry that the internet is not good today. You know, I'll find out because I'll be replaying, and on the replay, if it doesn't lag for me, then it's the internet in your area. But I'm looking at the replay here, and it is a little choppy, kind of weird. It's probably, I hate to say it, but maybe Restream. This is the last time, my last time giving them a chance. So many people have success with it. As long as you can hear me, right? Blah, 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 blah. They say that your computer doesn't have anything to do with it. But I'm wondering. I think it would be better if I cut this at a diagonal and bring it down so that it's closer. I don't think the 1/4 inch was necessary. Get a nicer point. I don't know where I got this thing. I'm sure it came with something that I bought, but it's lovely. Yeah, if you're all not getting it, it's got to be Restream. I don't, you know, I would say that I will restart and see how it goes, but I'm terrified to restart. It's getting slower and slower, or is it my hands? Am I moving? Am I moving in a weird way? I don't get to see until after. And this did not pick back up and go. I've been doing that for a long time. Can't be that. Restarted everything so that it would be rested. If you bought my feet from Nancy's Notions, they're the same. And you did get adapters. I think. It's like a slideshow? Are you serious? Do you want me to stop? It looks like an applique tool, but it's not. It's thicker. It probably came with something not related to sewing at all. But I was like, that'd be great for turning points. The applique tool would work as well. But I just found this yesterday and I was like, I like this thing. Oh yeah, it's like, man. Yes, you want me to start over? Clare. Dang it. Let me try turning this off. Oh, now like the sound went off. Come on. Close that. Maybe if I shut down the school, shut down the internet on the other screen, maybe it'll be better. Okay, well now I'm going to do top stitching. And I was going to use an accent color and let you guys help me choose, but now like this is the fabric. I know you all like purple, but I'm going to use this on the edge too. So I don't want that color. This time you guys don't get to pick. I want a color that's going to look good on the pink. And that probably would be pleasing to you. But I was thinking about going lighter. Like doing the yellow. It's buffering. Wonder if I restarted my router, if everything would still be sitting there. All right, I'm going to let you vote. Which color should I use as a satin stitch on the bow? I don't know. Dang it. I already restarted the router though. The only thing I can think of is it's Restream. What is this? Did it start when the chat? Was it fine until I did the chat, or has it been like this the whole time? Trying to see if it moves. Metallic gold on a dog outfit. I'm trying to see if it's really just terrible. This is awful. My son is texting me. Well, you know, it's frustrating because this takes a lot of time to do these shows, and I want people on the show afterward, at their, you know, when I'm not live, to not be frustrated. I feel like I should just stop, but I've done so much, I hesitate to do that unless I just stop for the day. And I'm going to go live next week on just YouTube and stop trying to use Restream. I just don't know what to tell you guys. Yellow or purple? Did you guys do it already? It did start when and it's not a Facebook chat. It's just the Restream chat. So I'm going to close it and I'll just use my cell phone for the chat. There is like something, it's like this red dot. What is that? Trying to see if it's smooth. I shut off the chat. Now I can only look on my cell phone. Who knows what this is? What's going on, you guys? The only thing I can think of is the Restream. It's the only constant thing that's happened all year is I've been trying to go live in more than one place. It's not supposed to. You like the yellow? We got somebody saying something. You know what my son will say? Your internet isn't good because you live out in the boondocks. You need to move to Seattle, where I am, where I have a higher speed internet upload. But we've done a lot of shows and there was no trouble. So all I can think of is that. And what I will do is I will just pick this up next week and we'll finish it next week. Yellow. I like yellow. We have these on order. There's only 2 left. Both my kids want me to move near them. That's a good sign. I'm like, whichever one of you pops out a baby first. No, I don't see myself living ever in Seattle. I love visiting there, but I don't think I'd be happy there. Spend enough time there to be able to discern that. What no? What's no, Amy? Oh, you don't want me to move? I'm not. So you have a bunch of different straight stitches on your machine if you have a computerized machine. And some of them have do like a really big stitch and then they tie a little knot and then do another stitch and tie a knot. You can use any one of those stitches for top stitching. You don't have to just use a plain old ordinary straight stitch. Still getting used to not having fake nails. Every day I'm just like, I can't believe these are my nails. I'm not matching my bobbin and needle exactly. If my son can pop out a baby, that'd be something else, huh? Oh yeah, I'm like frozen in some of these shots. I don't know what's causing it, you guys. The state of the world right now. Could be some cyber thing going on. The only way we would know is if you guys all went live. So now I just move my needle closer to the edge of that, and I'll check and see if it's close enough. Yeah, that's perfect. It's like a little bit less than 1/8 of an inch. Whoa. And this is one of the reasons I start on the fabric, do one whole stitch, and then go back first, especially on this machine. Something wonky about this particular baby lock. Something they do with the feed dogs. They have the feed dogs drop in between stitches. I think it's stupid. They try to make it so easy. Sometimes it just doesn't. All right, enough talking. So I'm just trying not to be in the way, pushing toward the foot so that the fabric's always touching the guide. Ignore the needle. This is when we have to pay attention, bring the needle down. Definitely would have been better if I'd ironed. And this is the 40 weight polyester that we offer at Creative Feet, the Polyfast thread. Now I got another one to do. Start on, do one whole stitch or more. They go back. Hi, Madeline. Thank you for chiming in. Sometimes I let you guys win, sometimes I don't. On a straight stitch, I do lower the needle. I get asked a lot, why don't you ever lower your needle? And I do, but I just don't do it very often because generally it's a problem. But on a straight stitch like this is something that I do. I like the pink and the yellow because it's going to be, next to this. I'm going to do a satin stitch on the edge of this, the ruffle. Doesn't have to be the same. I could use a dark color on it. Same foot now. Now we're going to use it for a zigzag stitch and do a satin stitch on the edge. But I'm like, oh, I'm supposed to cut two. Cut two, sew them together. See, in this case, I wouldn't. I would just fold it, cut it bigger. Dang it. But you know what? If you want a double-sided, if you want to be able to turn it, flip it, then it matters. But otherwise, this doesn't matter. Could just do a satin stitch on the edge. See what I mean though? If you just take and fold that, it's the same as sewing the two together. Easier. It's her pattern. I should do what she tells you to do. Does she have you do a different color? Helps if you read the directions. Did you guys catch that yawn? I stopped it in the middle of yawning. The video's good now? Oh my gosh. So she has you sew seam and finish the edge. Oh, see, this one's like a rolled hem. So I was going to show you both, a rolled hem and a satin stitch hem. So you can see both. Why does she have you cut 2 of these? If you do that. I wonder if she has videos. Finish edges with zigzag stitch. Sew hem in place. It's really weird. Gather. Skirt ruffle. That's the exciting thing. I'm going to show you a couture method of gathering. I don't see why she says cut 2. I'm just going to do that. I was going to teach you the rolled hem. So I'm going to show the rolled hem foot because I promised. Ah. And it's not one of my feet, so we're going to kind of do what she said, though. I'm going to do a zigzag on one edge, but I don't want to waste all that thread. You can use this foot as an overlock stitch as well, or overcast. So with the rolled hem foot, you have this little channel right here. That channel shows you how big your hem will be. You love the yellow. So take the Satinedge foot off. It's so rare that I don't use it. Now I want you to see the size of the zigzag opening. See how much bigger the Satinedge foot is than this? It's really hard to see in the slot of traditional feet. Oh, there looks like needle strikes there. This is not the Baby Lock foot because I don't like their foot. This is the D foot from the Janome machine because I have, I don't know how many sewing machines. When you put the foot on, you got to be able to see where that needle is going to come down. Put the foot down, bring up the bobbin thread. Now the bobbin thread's cut really short. This is one of my tricks. You guys paying attention? This is when you want to make notes. You cut out a piece of, you pull out needle and bobbin thread about 8 to 10 inches long. And based on the size of the slot on the bottom of the foot, you measure from the corner and from the side. So this is how big the seam is from here and how big it is from there and how far it is from there. So a dot, the distance, the size of that is, that's where we want to bring our needle down, which is really hard to see, especially with all my stuff in front of me. Ugh, can't stand the regular sewing machine foot. Okay, I'm not exaggerating. I have to look around my lights and my microphone. So I'm doing one stitch, full stitch rotation. That's needle up, needle down, needle up, needle down. One full stitch pattern. Then you lift the foot and we're going to pull this out. Something gets stuck. I feel stuck. Stuck in, oh, I didn't bring the needle all the way up. Jeez. And now we have this tail. What's going on? if it was down. Duh, that means I'm getting tired. Hi, Michael. So now basically what we have is this tail. And this tail is going to make it so you can... I gotta make sure my machine is threaded. That didn't feel right, even though it's probably just me. Donna's husband was sassy with me on Saturday. It's like, just don't be selling her more stuff. There we go. And when we're live in a Zoom call, the husbands walk in. They're so used to me being live every Thursday. He walked in and started talking. But he was on camera. Donna, are you still here? Okay, so now you take the tail into that screwball, that screw front end of the foot, and see how it starts to turn that into there. And then the reason I have you have a long piece is so that you can grab the foot and lower it. If you have a foot raiser up or downer thingy, what's it called? A knee foot lifter, then you could do that with your knee. I'm too short to use those knee lifts. Where's the lifter on this machine? Oh, that's right. It's this stupid button. Sorry. I don't like that button. So if you have a machine with a button for your foot, don't use it. Just raise it with the lever so you can lower the lever. See that? Now we want to center our needle with this foot because this foot's not for this machine, so I had to move it. I feel like I could go further over. This finger is the finger that adds or reduces the amount of fabric that goes into the foot. This hand, you hold the fabric straight up so that you're in line with the corkscrew front end of the foot. And this is how, and you focus right here. Don't look at the needle. Look at the front of the foot. And just try not to move your fingers. I used to do yards and yards and yards. I used to make skirts and sell them when I was 14 at my middle school. I made a wraparound skirt, but I added a ruffle and I had that hem on it. See how perfect that is? See how nice it works? Enjoy your Zoom meeting, Madeline. The Bernina 770, they left the knee lifter off on that. Okay, so that's one hem application. The other is to use the Satinedge Foot. We're not going to be able to finish this thing today anyway. And I'm feeling a little bit funky, you guys. I hate to say it. My throat's a little sore. My ear's hurting. I'm hoping it's just allergies. So now I'm going to use the satin stitch, which is a zigzag stitch and a short stitch length. I haven't been doing my... By the way, the Velcro that I got is the Babyville Boutique. It's really cool. Comes in a bunch of different colors. So if you Google Babyville Boutique, you can find a whole bunch of different things that are color coordinated. They have fold over elastics also that are really pretty. It's another alternative for this garment, by the way. Instead of having a Velcro, could have a elastic, and so that you just pull it over the head, and then it kind of gathers in on the dog, but not too much, just enough. I don't know. I haven't made it all the way yet, so I can't judge that. Oh, what am I doing? Oh, yeah, I'm teaching. Teaching. So to achieve a satin stitch, your sewing machine will have a zigzag stitch. You may have a variety of different zigzag stitches that your machine has pre-programmed for things. I would try to avoid those and just use your regular zigzag stitch, which usually shows up on your machine like that. And then choose a width that you like, and I like 3. I'll like 3.5 for this. So I will set the width to 3.5, and it's a W, and it's this direction. And then the length, I'm going to start at 1.0, and it'll be probably about that big. If I don't like it and I want it closer, then I would drop it down to 0.8 and try it. And then I go to 0.5 and try it. So the shorter or the smaller the number, the tighter the length is up and down. So I'm starting out at a 1, and I'm going to do a test on some scrap. The width of the stitch, 3.5, length 1, zigzag stitch. Bring your needle down so that it swings left and right. And I can see that my needle would strike the guide wire. So right swing goes over the guide and left swing goes on the fabric. And then you start sewing without holding on. Let the machine feed so you can really gauge that stitch length. Now it's short, now it's too long. So now I'm going to take it down, as I said before, down to 0.8. Try that without holding on again. Still a little bit longer than I like. Now I'm taking down to 0.5, as I said before. And go down to 0.4. If you go too short on an unstabilized fabric, it can start to tunnel, as you see how that started to curve. So this is all on a raw piece of fabric. If you try that without the guide wire, watch what happens. Same foot. Now I'm just going to move the wire out of the picture so that it's just like any sewing machine satin stitch foot. And this is what happens. It doesn't want to form a stitch. It grabs the fabric, and it could actually take the fabric down into the throat plate. And no matter how wide the stitch, it just won't make a stitch width. This is what I got. So that's the difference between using our Satinedge foot and a regular applique foot. So now that I know the setting that I like, I could just leave this raw like that, and I could also just kind of fold it under a little bit and get a nicer look. Just like you have a folded edge there. Spray starch would definitely help in this case to add body to the fabric, but we're going to gather it, so I don't want to add body to it. So instead, what I'm going to do is not go all the way to 0.4. I'm going to go 0.5. Whoopsie. There I go again. That time I said whoopsie. The other time I said oopsie. Oh my goodness, you guys. I didn't follow my rule. I was off the edge. It's too short. Okay, 0.6. What's going on? This live TV, you guys. Unless you're watching after February 3rd, 2022. this is how it guides this is what I designed it for. The first thing I ever designed it to do, and that's why it does so well when you go on the edge of the fabric like this. This is definitely still a fabric that should have some stabilization. If you had created a folded over, you just take and make your pattern piece double the width, fold it over. You could do the satin stitch on the folded fabric and it would be enough to add enough body. And as I said before, the spray starch, you could just spray starch the edge that you're stitching on and not spray starch over where your gathering stitch is going to be. So this does require a zigzag stitch in order to achieve this. I think I have my foot pressure too light, yeah. So I was affecting the feeding. So I was reading while sewing because it's really not me that keeps it on the edge there. And right now it is rolling and I'm liking that. It's just a little bit where the foot is consistently bringing it under. It's kind of like a rolled hem, but it's just because the fabric is really light. The difference between having your foot pressure too light to having it the right pressure. Oh, something's catching again. I need to take the machine apart. There's something causing an inconsistent tension on the machine. That pretty? So your choice as to which one you do. You could also do a double ruffle, you know. There's so many things you can do with ruffles. All right. Now the couture method of gathering. How is the camera, you guys? Is it keeping up? Because the gathering technique is pretty fun to watch. But I don't want to do it if the camera is like stopping because it'll ruin the whole effect. So is this paper moving in a good way or is it stopping like that as I move? Come on, you guys, I need you to tell me. Actually, it looks like it's... I'm looking at the replay on my cell phone. It looks like it's good. So when we do a gathering stitch, it's better to have two different color threads. One color in the bobbin and another color in the top. It helps you to know which one is your bobbin when you're done. Because the bobbin thread is the one you cut to remove the stitches. So I'm removing this, dropping things, removing the yellow bobbin, and I'm going to put a contrasting color bobbin. So I can definitely tell that purple camera is good. What does no mean? I love it when there's another Clare in here. It's fun to... Once upon a time, my name was super rare. Now it's not so much. There's lots of little girls being called Clare. There's my bobbin door. So I got purple bobbin. I'm going to put the pearls and piping foot on for this. It's the second foot that I designed. And I designed this foot for a woman who had hands that she couldn't extend her fingers out. And the year pearls came out on a string, she was thinking she could be able to sew pearls on without having to do it by hand. That's how old this foot is. The invention of injection molding with the string to pre-string pearls on, which you could add to the edge of this. You could have beads on the edge of your little ruffle. Wouldn't that be a fun accent for this? But what we're going to do right now, should I show you the pearls? Okay, so maybe I just need to not do their chat. Straight stitch, center needle position. We want to center the needle with the tunnel on the foot. This is the foot, and you can see it has a tunnel. The tunnel is an A-shaped tunnel. So when you hold your thread straight up, it goes to the top center of that tunnel. And that makes it easier to sew using different techniques. You can also sew patches on with this. I'm going to bring my bobbin thread up. It's so short. In dark. Where are you? There you are. Okay, Couture method of gathering. You should write notes on this, as this is not in the book or the video. This, and if you're wondering what I'm talking about when I say that, I have a book and a video for the creative feet, because each of the creative feet do over 20 different techniques. First row stitching is 0 tension. If you didn't know you could sew on 0 tension, now you know. And the length all the way to the longest your machine will sew, which is generally 5. Center needle position. Secure the beginning of your stitch. A few stitches forward, a few stitches back. Sew, kind of steering. Whoopsie. I started looking at the needle and went off. That's why you don't look at the needle. Do not secure the end. Cut the thread that's connected to the machine short and leave the bobbin thread long. About 6 inches longer than where you left off the fabric. That helps you also to identify the thread to adjust your gathers with. And actually, I have my washer on the foot on the right, and I should have it on the left, because I'm farther in on the fabric than I want to be. So I'm now going to sew to the right of this. Generally, I'll do the right stitch first, and then the second would be the one on the left. But that makes it so you can adjust your needle position. Second row stitching, we're going to take this to 9. Tension to 9. I was named after St. Francis of Assisi's girlfriend. The poor Clares. A few stitches forward, a few stitches back. All right. Now, while you sew, you hold on to the bobbin thread of the row you sewed before. And as you hold on to it, just don't let go, and try to be centered with your body, and your body should be centered with your needle. And what's going to happen is, by you pulling on the row that you already sewed at a 0 tension, it's going to gather the fabric that you already sewed, and the stitch that we're doing now at a 9 tension is going to gather the fabric automatically. So this is my body position. I'm kind of just holding that. See how the fabric's moving with me? I'm just holding on to that bobbin thread. I'll sew a little bit. It's kind of like tug of war with the machine. The machine is now going to pull. You want to make sure you have regular pressure setting, or the strongest pressure on the presser foot. That's a tongue twister. And I wasn't all the way down. Okay, so now I'm going to go to the closed camera so you can see it happen. It's really quite something. All right, here we go. I don't usually have that satin stitch on there, so it's not behaving as good as I'd like. Satin stitch is adding body, but you see the fabric is gathering. And it's 2 rows. I should have done it differently. You know what? I'm just going to do it on another piece of fabric really quick so you can see better. Here we go. We're going to do the same thing, but I'm going to do it over again. 0 tension on the first row. Length 5, straight stitch, center needle position. So a few stitches forward, a few stitches back, and then sew down. I look at the side of the foot to keep it along the edge of the fabric. And you can see how the fabric's kind of wanting to gather already. Do not secure the end. Cut the thread that's connected to the sewing machine closer to the fabric's edge, leaving the bobbin thread longer so you have something to hold on to. Second row of stitching, the side of the foot lines up to that row of stitching. So you can see this one's going to work. So a few stitches forward, a few stitches back, and take your tension setting all the way to 9 for your second row. And right now my machine is digital, so once again, grab the bobbin thread from the row you did before, and you'll see there's little loops. The needle thread is a loop, a loop, a loop, which makes it so you can ease the fabric, which is what gathering is for easing fabric. So now I'm just holding on to that bobbin thread. Do not let go of that bobbin thread it broke. I wasn't holding it the right way. Actually, I have no idea what that purple thread is. It might be Invisifil. You want to use polyester 40 weight thread for this. This is why I don't go past 2 hours on Thursdays. Can't hold on to that. It's so impressive when you do it according to the directions. So see what's happening? It's gathering, but I'm not causing that to gather. That's the machine doing the gathering. I'm holding on to that first row of stitches. Now we have 2 rows of stitching, and we can stitch this onto something in between those 2 rows of stitching. So on the little shoulder piece on this dress, you'll be able to ease it much tighter and give it a much more refined little gather across the shoulder. Then after you stitch it on, which is a lot easier to stitch on because those 2 rows of stitches stop the fabric from stretching as you sew it. Which I'll just sew it to something right now. What? Do I have a scrap? All right, now I'm going to just sew it onto this really quick so you can see. First off, you would ease, and by not securing the ends, you're able to ease that and make it spread out those gathers. Getting it to stitch accurately is a challenge without the Satinedge foot, so take the Satinedge foot out. So you see how they work so well together. Stitch length is the 5. Longer the stitch length, the more your fabric gathers with each stitch. So you could go shorter. If you have to make some tutus for little girls, this is the fastest way to tutu. That sounded funny. Now I'll move my guide over. Left needle position, regular tension. And I'm going to sew in between. So it'd be better if I had gotten that stitch to be 1/8 of an inch away from the edge. And this is the part that I believe you had trouble with, Wendy, was getting the stitches to disappear or to not be there. I did it. I didn't do right sides together. Jeez. How many ways can Claire mess up today? All right. This is another Just imagine I was going to do a casing instead. So now we have that stitch showing, but that is the second row of gathering stitches. So we can remove that by breaking the bobbin thread and the bobbin thread with a seam ripper, and you do it every inch or so. So always cut the bobbin thread when you want to cut and remove a stitch. Having it be a different color makes that easier as well. And then you pull on the top thread. You got to make sure you're on the same row stitching. Man, I got a sore throat starting. Hope it's allergies. Chase is snoring really loud. Sounds like a car. Now he's barking. He's got a little roof. This is a dog garment show. So basically what you're seeing now is the first row stitching. And that second row stitching is gone now, and you're left with a pretty ruffle that we can use the Satinedge Foot and top stitch that down. But that's not what the pattern calls for. And I'm going to be ready for finishing this up next week. Sorry for having technical trouble with the cameras again. I'm thinking that next week, I don't know. I am on with Restream right now, but I never saw one person from Facebook, so we'll find out afterward if anyone from Facebook got to see this. You did answer me. All right, so to recap the gathering steps is first row stitching. Both rows of stitching is 5 on the length, or your longest stitch length. Pressure at the highest setting. The purls and piping foot, because it has a unique design that makes this gathering happen. 40 weight polyester thread. Don't try cotton or rayon or you'll just be breaking thread. That's true all the time. I would never use cotton or rayon for gathering anything. Always a poly, it's stronger, or a nylon. The lingerie thread being the strongest thread. Okay, so back to the settings. Both rows are 5mm stitch length. You secure the beginning and not the end. And the first row stitching is 0 tension, and the second row of stitching is 9 tension. And then you hold on to the bobbin thread of the 0 tension, and it slides as the feed dogs pull, and the tension pulls and gathers that second row. And that is how you can gather 2 rows of stitching equally spaced apart without having to draw the fabric up yourself. The machine is doing the magic for you. It's like the muscle to pull that fabric through. I know that I have in the Creative Feet playlist on my YouTube channel this all by itself. So look for the Couture method of gathering, and you'll find a brief, real quick instruction on how to do that gathering technique. Hi, Billy. Know that you can watch us on the replay. We had camera lagging, internet issues. And so I'll be finishing this next week, as I'm already at 2.5 hours and my brain stops functioning well at 2 hours. Remember to join my school. It's a free online school. It's a place where you guys can hang out and share pictures of your work and put questions out to everyone or to me specifically. You have access to just a private chat with me, and it does come through as a text message on my phone. Be sure to set up your notifications inside the school so that you get notified both with your cell phone and in email, so you don't miss out on any live events, because we will be doing As soon as I'm going to use some guinea pigs to try out our school's brand new go live video. And that will be, I don't even know what it's going to look like because I haven't done it yet, but it may be where you're all on there as well, which is fun. The Zoom calls. And with that, we also have the Creative Feet site where you can find the feet and other products that I use on my show here. This is the Fabrically Speaking live show, not to be confused with a podcast. This is live. So if I lag or I break a needle or I break thread, you get to see it. There's no editing on my videos when we do this. If that kind of video drives you nuts, then hit my Creative Notions playlist. They're all edited videos, and any broken needles were concealed, saving you the frustration of me just rattling on like I am now as well. If you like this video, go ahead and hit that like button after we're done being live. This is March 3rd, 2022. If you're watching it and it is not that date, you are not watching it live. And this will be immediately available for you to watch after I say goodbye. If you have yet to subscribe to my YouTube channel, I sure hope you'll do so today. Make sure you hit the bell and you have it send you all notifications so you never miss out on getting a reminder so that you can watch from the beginning and not be late for one of these episodes. And I will try to be better for you next week. See if any of you had any last minute questions. There are hundreds of techniques in my head that I'm trying to get out and give to you in a better method. The Creative Feet techniques area, we just keep having different things slow things down. And this other camera is working, so I think we're good. Next week should be smoother running as long as the internet keeps up. I don't think I'll use their chat because that seemed to be the problem. So did you like that technique, Wendy? Did that make sense? Do you think that'll help you do a better job on getting that in? And know that you can glue your gathers down and let it dry before you sew it so they can't shift on you as well. The water-soluble stabilizer in a bottle, it dries and it locks the gathers in place, which I will probably show you next week. With that, I love you guys so much. Thank you for putting up with all of the technical problems, putting up with me. Have a wonderful week. I will see you next Thursday. Bye.